Yeah. Who are our people? Who are the people that we want to be for others? Here we are in Halloween week when we're faced with scary things everywhere we turn. Tombstones and skeletons and zombies and witches and ghosts abound. There might even be a few in this room. Traditions and beliefs about this time of year are as old as humanity, and so it's hard to really know why we do such things as hanging big spider webs in trees and playing spooky sounds over loudspeakers and finding all manner of ways to scare one another. Now maybe exposing children to scary things could build some kind of fear resilience, helping them to see that things are not always as scary as they appear. Or not. It might be said that facing one's fears is an admirable ambition, but if that's your inclination, know that a safety net is best practice. And even with that, it's really advised for adults only. Each of us who's on the other side of childhood can likely tell stories about something that scared the bejeebers out of us as kids, fears we still haven't reconciled. And sadly, too many of us can tell unfortunate and tragic stories about something or someone in our childhoods that actually harmed and traumatized us. And expecting our children or any vulnerable population to navigate what is safe and what is not, well, that is just not their job. That's ours. And that's why we have policies about how to be a safe congregation, how to be a loving community. Now I, and maybe you too, hold some pretty classic and idealized visions of what it means to be a family, what it means to be a beloved community, what it means to be that village needed to raise up our children. I think if you're anything like me, you imagine a place where everyone is open and loving, where we can drop into one another's kitchens to be fed, where we easily throw open our doors to bandage any knee, where we stop what we're doing to hold spontaneous and thoughtful conversations that are grounded in respect and curiosity, like Lake Wobegon, where all the adults are wise, where all who enter find a place of belonging, and where all the children are safe and, of course, way, way above average. Now that kind of community is a beautiful and aspirational vision, something way out ahead of us, something that we're building but haven't yet attained. Because beloved community can never be fully reached. It's something that we are always in pursuit of. Our people, our liberal-minded forebears, are known and loved for their heretical positions, their curiosity, their embrace of difference, their insistence on personal freedom. They too were in pursuit of something imagined but not realized, not for lack of effort, but because as understanding expands, so does the vastness of the unknown. Our people were on a great path, and yet because of expanding knowledge, we must constantly adapt and alter that direction. As our island of knowing grows, so does the length of the shoreline. The more we know, the more we realize we have yet to learn. And this same idea of evolving knowledge applies to our concept of what a safe and respectful community looks like. As a child, from my ancestors, my lineage, I was taught to defer to any adult, regardless of how they treated me. I was taught that being compliant was how to be good. I wasn't taught about personal boundaries or private space. I learned that there are two genders and that girls could do so and such, but not that. I had no awareness of same-sex partners. I lived in a white neighborhood, a white town. This was the picture of community that was handed me. The picture is commonly held by others of my generation and race. But has that shoreline expanded? My ideal of the beloved community has changed. Racial equity and then racial equality and then racial equity, a gender binary, and then a gay lesbian lens, which further expanded to include transgender and bisexual identities, and then gender fluidity, same-sex marriage, and then polyamory, clearly defined gender roles and appearances, and then learning to release any need to know or name someone else's gender identity. He and she, then zir and z, then they, them. The vastness of the unknown expands continually. For everything I have wrestled with and learned, there will yet be another unfolding, another new thing. Our societal norms and expectations keep changing. Of course, changes have to be criticized. Not every change moves us toward our vision. But many new things are good things that open our arms wider and grow our hearts. Our understanding of how to best support children in becoming their most authentic and joyful selves keeps evolving. They keep teaching us. How it was in my childhood is not how it should continue to be. So it's left with us to continually ask, what is the most loving thing to do? What leads us in the most compassionate direction? So ask yourself, what is it that has been passed along to you that you wish to pass along to those who come after? And what are the things that, even if once held dearly, you can let go of in the interest of the well-being of the most vulnerable and a better life for those to come? You know, experiencing unjust things leads us to normalize them. In my day, I excused the older men who said or did inappropriate things to me. The biddies who criticized me or pinched my arm, I let them off the hook. Because I was bullied, I can tend to see this behavior as, just kids being kids. But now, on closer inspection and confronting this unconscious acceptance of what was, I can say that this is not what I want to pass on to our children or to their children. I want to interrupt any generational trauma and instead to turn toward love and nurture and the embrace of difference, to open myself to learning and to new ways of being. This is just good practice, to learn, to reflect, to notice our own behaviors, to make changes. Thomas Jefferson, a Unitarian ancestor, believed that each generation has a right to choose for itself, quote, what it believes most promotive of its happiness, unquote. So while we don't want to emulate everything Jefferson did, like hold slaves, we can carry his idea of evolution forward. What was needn't be what will be. What was needn't be what will be. The next generations have new ideas, and we can all change, we can all do better. Who are my people? Well, now I see that I'm responsible for being them. We are accountable to create the people and the community that those who follow us will inherit, whatever generation you're a part of. We are all accountable of letting go of what's harmful. We can create a place where we are vulnerable enough to own our mistakes and humble enough to try again. A community where all can thrive and grow into the fullness of possibility, where we hold one another in respect and compassion and constantly are open to new understandings. My people hold love at the center and are dedicated to the possibility of a beloved community. May they be your people too. May they be our people. May it ever be so. So let's sing.